pleased to be here, and I'm very grateful for the people that have organised this, and I'm grateful for Emily and Richard for also addressing the meeting, and certainly for the support from the Labour Party and Islington Council. I'll pick up on Emily's last point about the post office. I mean, I think the first thing is, if they had something to be able to offer, they'd be here tonight, wouldn't they? Right, they're not here. They can't even be bothered to turn up and justify what they're doing, or answer the questions, or to at least make a case for what they're doing. So I mean, that tells you at least they've got some shame in that they know they can't convince people. But I mean, that in itself is disgraceful that they can't even be bothered to be here. Now, they wrote a letter to me today saying that they've got their own PR going on Friday, and that they've been to scrutiny committees and they've met with the MPs, etc. But that's not the point. It's the public that were invited to today's meeting, and the public should have their say, and they should be here to hear what the public have got to say and be able to be accountable. Now, Emily says that the post office management are incompetent. I think probably they are, but I think it's even worse than that. I think there's something more sinister about this, and I think this is about depriving people of decent services, and it's a callous decision. And indeed, I think it is very much political. And if I can explain why I think it's political. Last week, the government minister made an announcement that £640 million will be available to protect rural post offices, primarily in Conservative constituencies. And if they can find £640 million to protect rural post offices, and indeed my union wants those post offices protected, because they're part of the infrastructure, part of the fabric of society, and our postmen and women deliver to them every week, every day. And we need a national post office network. But if they can find money for the shires, the rural communities, primarily Tory MPs areas, why are they depriving inner city, urban areas where there is primarily Labour supporters or Labour MPs? So I do think it is very much political. They've got money for everything that suits them, but not money to protect Crown post offices in the city. Paula Venables, the chief executive, was actually on the Jeff Randall show last week, the day of the announcement by the minister, and she was on there waxing lyrical about how fantastic it was that this coalition government had found £640 million. The irony about it is they're committing the next government, whatever that may look like, to that £640 million. So it's very easy for them to commit to that, when they may not necessarily be in power in any event. But Paula Venables, the chief executive, I should actually say, Paula Venables, I earned £697,000 last year, chief executive for the post office. Now, when you think about that, you know, people might say that MPs are overpaid. They don't earn a tenth of the fraction of this woman's pay. £697,000. Yeah, that's 6-7 times more than the Prime Minister. Absolutely preposterous, ridiculous that a government employee, because she's appointed by BIS, by what was formerly called the DTI, she's appointed. She's a public servant, and yet she earns I use the word loosely, £697,000. She should be here tonight, justifying the policies and the decisions of her post office, which after all is the people's post office. And it's not just about the Crown office in Highbury, it's what they also want to do for Holloway Crown Post Office as well. In actual fact, they've been shamed into replacing Islington, because originally their plans were to close them both. And if you go back years and years ago, they wanted to get rid of both of them. They've had successful campaigns to protect them. I mean, it seems like it's an ongoing saga over a course of 15, 20 years, where we've been trying to protect these post offices and protect the service. And just to give you an illustration of how things are obscene, the chief executive, this Paula Venables woman, she's formerly worked for Argos and Dixon's and all these other power companies. And she's obviously had nice compromise agreements to leave them with big packages, and undoubtedly that's what will happen with her on this job at some stage. Right? But in 2011-12, her salary was combined earnings package, including pension, was £510,000. These figures are in the public domain, they're in the reported accounts. Bear in mind the post office is still owned by the electorate, the people, the taxpayers. It's owned by the country. It's the post office, not Royal Mail. Richard was actually calling it Royal Mail. It's actually the post office. This is part of the post office. Unfortunately, Royal Mail has been partially privatised, and as you see what a debacle that is with the share price on that as well. But this woman earned £510,000 in 2011-12. Well, bless her. That wasn't enough for her. She had to have a 37% increase last year. So the year 2012 to 13, she went to 697,000. 37% increase in one single year. Now, it's all nice if we could all get that. I mean, the pensioners would like to have a 37% increase in their pension. And what does this woman do? She goes on the Jeff Randall show and says there's no programme of closures. And yet, in Kate's Hoey's constituency in Vauxhall, we've got Kennington Park Road, Stockwell, Crown Post is being closed. We've got Looper Street in Westminster being closed, and we've got one of our crowns in Sutton being closed, along with other crowns elsewhere in the United Kingdom, in Manchester and elsewhere. So there is a closure programme, and yet she goes on the Jeff Randall show and says there's not. Now, it beggars belief that Islington Council have actually offered taxpayers' money, local ratepayers' money, to keep a Crown Post Office in Highbury Corner, and yet they're turning that down. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's the economics of a madhouse. Why on earth would they turn down £2 million 2 years ago? Okay, that's had to be revised to £750,000 now. But even so, and a site that is ready made on the other side of Highbury Corner. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I do think it's incompetent, but I also think it's a lot more sinister than that. And to put this into perspective, last year the Post Office declared a £94 million operating profit. So they've got money. This year their target is to decrease that to £103 million. And of course the big bonuses that they all get, the senior directors, are based upon their targets. And they always set the targets so they can achieve them. They know they're going to achieve them before they even set them, because their bonus is based upon that. So look, what are we going to do about this? The consultation closes at the end of December. I do believe that events like this are important, but we also need letters to Consumer Futures, who's allegedly the consumer watchdog. I think that it'd be really good if they generally could meet with the council, with Consumer Futures, because they're in denial about the fact that the public are up in arms over this. They try and turn a blind eye to these things, so I think they should be put under pressure as well. I think it's good that Richard is hopefully after the motion's passed on Thursday at the council, that Richard is writing to Vince Cable. I mean, he should be brought to account, and there's no doubt about this whatsoever. So it absolutely doesn't make sense. But it may take it a stage further. All the senior managers in the Post Office last year shared a £15 million bonus. I mean, okay, there's a lot of senior managers, too many to our mind. But if you think about it, £15 million being shared by senior managers, a fraction of that could be used to keep a post office. And we know what it's all about. It's about reducing services. So this position about only 7 desks. What you can't do is you can't amalgamate Islington and Highbury Crowns, put the staff from both of them into the new post office, and then expect the same amount of customers to go there, because customers will find other wings and another place to go. The Post Office's own planning assumption is that only 80% of customers will migrate from the 2 current positions. So they're already working on a 1/5, a 20% reduction of customers. So what we need is we need to have 2 post offices, the new one to replace the Upper Street one, which unfortunately is part of a compulsory purchase order or part of the development there. And I think Emily's right. Any good negotiator, when they were selling that Royal Mail post office, it was all one at that time, Royal Mail and Post Office together. When they were selling that site just off our Main Street, Upper Street, any good negotiator would have said, and we want in there provision for a post office, and we want you to build it, developers. I mean, that's what goes on. When developers identify a plot of land, an area for development, whoever owns that is in a bargaining position to say, fine, you can have this for X amount of money, but we want a replacement services for whatever that might be. And indeed, it does make you wonder about the incompetence of people not even pursuing that. And I didn't even know about the 2nd floor. I mean, if they were offering a post office on the 2nd floor, I mean, you know, that is just absolutely crazy. So we've got to fight this. I think we can win this one, actually, because how on earth can they actually turn down the council's position? The council are offering an alternative site in the short term, whilst the new premises are built, and they're offering to partially fund that by the tune of £750,000. That's a significant sum of money that the post office should not turn their face away. If they do, well, it only signals one thing. One, they want to decline the services, and they just want to do away with jobs, not overpaid jobs, but at least they're trade union organised jobs, and at least they have a rate of pay that is better than lots of areas. So, I mean, it's also a dumbing down, not just of the service, but of jobs within the constituencies as well, the two constituencies, jobs that are needed, and jobs that will actually ensure that people have money and go and spend that on local services and the local shops, etc. It's all part of the local economy, and it's vitally important that that local economy continues. So, you know, I think it's an absolute disgrace what's going on. I'm really delighted with the support from the MPs and from the local council, and I think we can with this, because it doesn't make sense. And if we keep on shouting that from the rooftops, and perhaps we need to have a demonstration, perhaps we need to have a demonstration outside the office and have a bit of a march down to Upper Street and then back up or whatever. Let's get out there and have a bit of a march, maybe behind a band, and let's you know, a bit of a jazz band, and let's make a bit of noise and hullabaloo, and let's put them under immense pressure. And I believe that we can turn this around. We campaigned against the closure of the Essex Road one. Okay, it ended up becoming a sub-post, but at least there's a service there being provided to the constituents of the local community. We can win this campaign, and we also need to ensure that Holloway is not put in the back of the WH Smiths or anywhere else, because that's a massive Crown office in Holloway, and that needs to ensure that this also continues to provide service for the people down that part of Islington as well. So, you know, overall, what they're trying to do to this borough, these constituencies, is absolutely outrageous, and the only people that lose out will be the public, who will get a worse service. We've got to stop this from happening. Thanks very much.